Okay, so the body shell is all white again. When I left you, I'd spray painted it in the grey primer and let it dry. So what I did today was sprayed it in the Halford's primer, the white primer, let that dry. Then I got the Halford's appliance gloss white and sprayed that on top of the white primer and let that dry. And you can see it's got a lovely sheen to it from the flash on my camera phone. Very nice indeed. Once that had dried, I then went round with my 1mm masking tape and masked off the windows. So you've got the two side windows on the other side as well, look. And then you've got the main windscreen area. And then you've got the venting that's under the windscreen. So the first coat I painted matte black, let that dry, and then painted on the gloss black on top of that. And as you can see, it's still quite wet, it ain't fully dry yet. So that's that. I then painted the headlamps in the gunmetal. Now the plans call for you to paint it in silver, but looking at the restoration videos again, it's actually more of a darker grey if not black. But I decided to go with the gunmetal. The bonnet pins, I've painted those in silver. And then turning to round for the rear, I've also done the rear lamp area in the gunmetal, and then painted the boot pins in silver. The instructions call for you to paint it in black, but again, looking at that restoration video, they look silver to me, so that's what I've done them in silver. Also, I've painted the rear spoiler. That's also been done in the Halford's appliance gloss white. And the clear windscreen stroke side windows, I've just masked off around the back here, inside and on the outside, and then from the inside I've just painted on the matte black. I've not long done the gloss black. I'm probably going to put another coat on top of that. Also, you can see that I've still left the newspaper masking tape on the inside, because that's given me a little mask to paint, and so it don't go over the sides on the inside. So I've just left that in for now. So I'm just going to let this dry now, and then tomorrow morning I will be able to remove the masking tape and see the results. Right, the interior part of the body shell is all done. So I've glued the windscreen stroke side windows assembly in, that clear part. So I just went around my glue and glaze around the edges and underneath for the edges, on the top parts and on the bottom parts, and then I just put my bits of tape in to hold that down. I've done the clear parts with the 4 lenses. So like I said, you've got orange, 2 red and 1 white, 1 clear. So I glued them in with the glue and glaze, put a bit of tape on them. This morning before I went to work, I just pulled the tape back slightly and put a bit of extra Tamiya extra thin, same as that piece there at the back. I've also super glued the mesh in as well, both sides. So I just ran the super glue first, put the mesh in, and I got the back of my blade and just like pushed it down so it like bent in slightly to hug the wall, because the inside of the wall slightly indentated. And then I left the glue for about half an hour to dry, and then I went back in with my finger and just like really pressed it in both sides. And then just again with the Tamiya extra thin, just went around the edges. So that's what the rear looks like. So you've got the 1 orange and the 2 red and the clear. 1 orange and 2 red and the clear. That looks blue because I ain't took the tape off yet. You got that bit there in the middle, and then for the mesh, that looks really nice. That does. I'm glad I used that metal mesh as opposed to the cloth mesh that you get with the kit. But that looks really nice. And the And the clear, you know, windows, they look really good in my opinion. So all I've got to do now is just take the tape off, and then it'll be time then to attach the body onto that. Right, so I've took all the tape off and I've now mounted the body shell onto the chassis. Now, in step 14, let's push that back a bit. Step 14, it tells you you've got to put it in from the back. You've got two notches, little C-shaped notches that mount onto that plate underneath the fuel tank. So you've got to push them in. And then as you're pushing it down, you've got to bend these out, both sides of the sidewall out. And then eventually, you've got two little pins on here that lock in to two little pinholes that I never noticed above that opening there. They're actually about there and there, but I didn't notice them, so I don't even know if I've got them in right. So I've managed to get it in. The pins, the actual C shape, you can just see it there, them encompassing. I don't know if you can make out that one there, them encompassing that plate underneath the fuel tank. But you can see there's like a lip, slight lip. I don't know if I've got them fully in. The only trouble is I can't see the pinholes underneath here, so I'm probably just going to have to live with that. I'm going to try and get it up a bit more with my tweezers, but I don't think they're going to pop into place, so I'm going to have to live with that little raised lip. But it's all clicked in on the side here. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you about before I start doing the outer detailing, well, the outer construction, because I've still got all the lens to put on, I've still got the rear view mirrors to put on. I'm not going to put those on till after I've done the decals, same as the window wiper. It's the spoiler. Now it tells you there's two little pins there. Right, so putting that back down, there's your one pin there, and the other pin is there. Now underneath the spoiler, you've got a little oval shaped hole and a little oval shaped hole there, and you've basically got to line them up. I don't know if I can demonstrate this. There's the one, so that's in. Now I'm going to have to stretch this out slightly to get that one in, and there's the spoiler all lined up. Now that one might want to pop out again, so I'm going to have to probably put some super glue in the pinholes and then put them in, and then get the Tamiya extra thin. But the spoiler looks really nice, just test fitted on there at the moment. So next part will be the outer construction in step 15 before decals. Right, welcome back. I've now completed the last bit of the body shell work on the Supra. So I'll start with the rear spoiler, because when I'd left you I was just demonstrating that you had to pull them apart slightly to get them to meet the two pins with the two holes. So I just put a drop of super glue on the pin and the hole, and just prised it apart and pushed it into place and held it with my fingers and thumbs like that, both sides. So I held that down for about, what, 2 or 3 minutes, and then once the 2 or 3 minutes had gone, it dried and I could take my fingers away and it didn't really want to pop back out. So I left that to cure overnight, and then with the Tamiya extra thin the next morning I just let it seep in there, round there, in there and round there, just to give it a bit of extra security. You've got the rear tail lights. I've put the lenses in now, just went with the glue and glaze on both sides, and just cocktail stick with a bit of blue tack on and just eased it into place, and then just let that set, and that's dry. You've got the rear towing hook on the back here. I painted it red, but I put a bit too much glue in the little rectangular hole inside there, and when I pushed it in it come out, and some of the reds on the bodywork, so I've got to top that up with some white. I've also put the rear diffuser panels into place now. Now they're just glue here, they don't touch the there's a gap between that and the fuel tank, so I just glued them in with the super glue, held them down for a few minutes, let them set overnight once that was dry, and then just went again with the Tamiya extra thin around the sides just to give a bit of extra security. I've also put the rear screen in. Now what I did, on the plans it tells you to paint the inside of the rear screen. Well, where the rear screen sits is actually a little L-shaped lip all the way around, so I put some black on there as well, and I thought maybe that would transfer through, but it didn't 100% transfer through. So what I did, on the inside of the windscreen is another L-shaped lip, and I just put one coat of the black in there and the one coat on the actual body shell, and the two coats blended really well, so I just ran the glue and glaze, dropped it in, didn't even need to tape it, just let the force of gravity make it dry. Going round to the front, I've done the front lenses as well, again with the glue and glaze, just ran it round with a cocktail stick with a bit of blue tack, just gently pushed them into place and just let them dry with the power of gravity. The front towing hook, again painted that red, but I didn't put as much glue in, I only put a tiny bit in, and that glued in lovely, no overspill. A bit of detailing, you've got this little orange piece here, which is an indicator light maybe. You've got that there, black, red and silver. I don't know if that's some kind of data port or something where the mechanics had plugged their laptops in, I don't know. And then you've got this one, it's this side bit on that indicator with the orange. I don't know if that's some kind of refueling rig where the plug, you know, where the refuelers in the pit stop would push it in. So that's black and then silver for the little raised dot. And that's all that done. So next up will be decaling and the finale.